Imagine standing at the edge of a precipice, staring down into an abyss that hums with an almost sentient energy, knowing that your path lies not around it, but straight through its gaping maw. Imagine facing a force of nature so relentlessly efficient, so overwhelmingly powerful, that every fiber of your being screams in protest, yet you are compelled to confront it, to challenge the inevitable. From a moment he first stepped onto the red clay of Roland Garros, Rafael Nadal was not merely a tennis player. He was an emergent entity, a seismic event waiting to shatter the existing order. His legendary career wasn't just built. It was forged in an inferno of brutal rallies and unyielding determination, extending his dominion over the French Open until it became less a tournament and more his personal hunting ground. He didn't just win Grand Slams. He absorbed them, each trophy a physical manifestation of his dominance, a warning inscribed in silver. His reign on clay was so absolute, so uncompromising, that it transcended sport, becoming a modern myth whispered among those who dare to challenge him. A saga of an unstoppable tide meeting an immovable object, with the object inevitably crumbling. The sheer weight of his presence on Philippe Chatrier court was a burden no mere mortal could consistently bear, a psychological fortress erected brick by brick from the shattered hopes of countless contenders. His fighting spirit wasn't a choice. It was a fundamental law of his being, an intrinsic biological imperative to persist, to overcome, to simply not yield. Every point was a brutal skirmish, every game a full-scale assault, every match a war of attrition where his opponents often found their will breaking long before their bodies. This wasn't merely aggressive tennis. It was an existential threat to anyone daring to stand opposite him. The iconic topspin forehand was not just a stroke of genius. It was a monstrous weapon, a blurred yellow orb arcing impossibly high, kicking up dust like a miniature, malevolent dust devil, crashing down with a fury that felt less like a ball and more like a dense, kinetic projectile designed to strip away confidence and belief. Its trajectory was a paradox, a defiance of conventional physics, leaving opponents not just beaten, but utterly disoriented by its violent, almost unnatural bounce. His physical intensity was a constant, suffocating pressure, a relentless, primal energy emanating from every pore, manifesting in every grunting lunge and every thunderous ground stroke. Opponents didn't just play against him. They wrestled with an elemental force, a human typhoon that never seemed to dissipate. On clay, he wasn't just nearly unbeatable. He was an inevitability, a preordained victory for himself, a preordained despair for others. His movements fluid and predatory, carving lines in the red earth that felt like territorial markings. Even on other surfaces where the conditions were less aligned with his specific brand of brutalism, he remained a top contender, adapting, evolving, a dangerous predator shifting its hunting grounds, leaving a trail of shattered dreams on grass and hard courts alike. Yet, beneath this impenetrable veneer of power lay a constant, gnawing vulnerability. His career was a relentless battle waged, not just against opponents, but against his own fragile form, his body a canvas etched with the scars of his relentless pursuit of greatness. Injuries were not interruptions. They were constant companions, spectral adversaries whispering doubts, attempting to chain him to the sidelines. There was the persistent struggle with his foot, the rare and degenerative Muller-Weiss syndrome affecting the navicular bone in his left foot, a chronic pain that would have crippled lesser athletes, but which he endured, transforming agony into a strange, twisted fuel for his fire. This was no ordinary athlete. This was a man who embraced his physical vulnerabilities, understood their inherent danger, and still pushed his flesh beyond all reasonable limits. His pre-serve ritual, a meticulously choreographed sequence of tugs, swipes, and adjustments. The shirt, the hair, the nose, the precisely aligned water bottles, was not just superstition. It was a visible act of mental fortification, a warrior's preparation for psychological combat, a silent incantation to ward off the encroaching demons of doubt and pain before unleashing the storm. The fact that he was naturally right-handed, yet wielded his racket with a devastating left-handed power, was not mere happenstance. It was a strategic metamorphosis orchestrated early in his life, a deliberate shaping of his physical identity to become an even more formidable, asymmetric threat, catching opponents off guard with angles and spins they rarely encountered. Each comeback from injury wasn't a return. It was a resurrection, a defiant roar in the face of physiological betrayal, proving time and again that his will to win far outweighed his body's capacity for pain. He didn't just rise to big occasions. He detonated them, transforming moments of immense pressure into displays of almost inhuman resolve, his eyes burning with an inferno that promised retribution for every setback, every physical limitation. This made him not just a champion, but an almost mythological figure, his existence on court a constant, terrifying question mark for his adversaries. How much more can one man endure and still prevail? The unexpected twist lies in the realization that his struggle against injury wasn't a weakness that softened his threat. It was, paradoxically, the very thing that made him more terrifying, more unyielding. Each physical breakdown, each agonizing recovery, each forced hiatus from a game, simply refined his ruthlessness. It forged a deeper, more primal understanding of his own limits, only to then systematically dismantle them. He became a living embodiment of nature's relentless cycle: destruction, dormancy, and then explosive rebirth, each cycle more potent than the last. The threat he presented was not just skill or power, but the terrifying knowledge that he was willing to sacrifice everything, to endure anything, to secure victory. His entire career became a testament to an almost predatory adaptation, learning to hunt and kill on different surfaces, under different conditions, against different generations of rivals, always finding a way to impose his savage will. He was less a sportsman and more a force of environmental control, reshaping the competitive landscape of tennis to suit his own formidable design, creating an ecosystem where only the strongest, most resilient, and most utterly committed could hope to survive, and even then, rarely against him. The profound, unsettling reality was that you weren't just battling a man. You were battling an idea, an unshakable, relentless commitment to conquest that transcended the physical realm, becoming a psychological torment that lingered long after the final ball landed. The most surprising, perhaps even creepy, moment in understanding Nadal's reign isn't a singular match or trophy, but the creeping dread of knowing that even when he seemed broken, even when the world counted him out, that particular predator, that unique force of nature, was merely conserving energy, waiting for the precise, inevitable moment to strike again, stronger, more determined, more utterly terrifying than before. His dominance wasn't merely statistical. It was a psychological weapon, a dark shadow cast over the aspirations of an entire generation of elite athletes who lived under the constant, suffocating knowledge that the king of clay, the embodiment of an unyielding spirit, might emerge from the depths of injury, ready to reclaim his throne with a ferocity sharpened by adversity. What primal fear does such unwavering, indomitable force truly inspire?